it did work.
Even smudge.
Nope.
Fantastic.
The Redeemed Press is a very special place for me and for the residents of the Redeemed Home now. I get to do what I love. I get to do what I was created to do, which is create art. And I get to be surrounded by an amazing group of people to do that and just to share hope and give glory to God.
First time I met Olivia was at a camp out called Father-Daughter Retreat that Block Ministry did, I think around 15 years of that, where dads would bring their daughters, usually 3 years old and up. We'd do a whole weekend of camping out. Her daddy Mark was invited to help me lead worship, and she came as a young girl with her dad to camp out and be a part of our journey.
It's just such an amazing time. Like when I hear Dwight remember or recall it, or when he tells somebody else, he lights up. And then as like when me and my sisters talk about it, we light up because it's such a special memory.
How would you describe your dad?
I'm a lot like my dad, so he's weird. He is a big dreamer. He is emotional and sensitive, which is really nice to see. And he's very, very artistic. So like musically and drawing and painting, he likes to create things.
She's always been my little girl. It's always so neat when the things that I have built into my life, they see that and you can see it mimicked in them, and everything's an adventure.
It just felt so nice to be loved on by my dad, and just the intent focus, like it was so intentional.
Next time I encountered Olivia was when we were doing after-school programming pretty early on in the ministry, and she was at Delhi Middle School, and we did that once a week.
I remember how excited I would be on the days that we had Bible study in the morning, like, I gotta get to school. And I don't necessarily know if I was excited to learn about Jesus in that time, but I knew it was a special time, like a club, you know, and I looked forward to that. Just having that in my own life, I know made it so much easier to come back when I needed help as an adult, like because it was a familiar face. And they had just proven that they would show up and they would be there. I didn't know in middle school how impactful that would be in my later years, but I'm just really grateful that Block was there, and with, you know, everyone, a part of Block was obedient to that calling.
Every week we gathered together and we had a short little Bible study and prayer, but we just really played and got to be in relationship together. Not too long after that, her family moved to Columbus.
We moved to Columbus united, and over 4.5 years, our family was just taken down. We all suffered a lot. So from freshman year of high school to senior year of high school, I went from being on fire for Jesus, going to, you know, student ministries in the morning, to closing down the bars. When I graduated high school, my parents had just divorced. My dad stayed in Columbus, and my mom was down here in Cincinnati, and I was just torn on what to do. So not really trusting or having faith in either of my parents at that time, I just clung to men. Partying and men, and anyone that would love me, anyone that would give me attention. I just clung to that like so much, and almost to a point of like suffocating a relationship, because I was so desperate for that love and attention, because I knew what that was like. My dad gave me that. I know what it was supposed to be, and I was just forcing it with anyone who would give me any time of day. So Marcus is the father of my daughters. He's a really great dad. He's a really great dad to my daughters. But he also had a lot of brokenness in his story. And I think that both of us really just wanted to make it work, but we didn't know how, and we would not surrender to God. I would have stayed in that marriage till the day I died, regardless of how toxic or anything. And Marcus was wise enough to end it and step away. And I didn't see it at the time, but that was the catalyst to kind of like wake me up. Then when we got divorced, I was homeless for 3 months. After I was homeless for 3 months, then I decided that it would be a good idea to not work for the man in the corporate world. And I found a lady who was hiring for people to give body rubs out of her salon. And I think I knew what was really going on, if I can be honest. I knew in that lifestyle of prostitution and selling yourself, there's just a lot more wounds. It hurts a lot more. And I was reintroduced to opiates, and Percocet became my very best friend. I was evicted from my second place, and I was like ready to go into work one day, and I had a flat tire. And I was so mad. I'm like, because I had to go get money for my drugs. I was furious. And I just heard God like, are you silly? Like, I'm trying to stop you. I don't know how else to stop you. You got flat tires, all these other things that are just stop. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, God, go ahead. Like, I stopped. So I moved home at that point. That was when I decided. I called my mom and I said, Mom, can you please just come pick me up and bring me home? And she did. And that's when I started my journey to recovery. I have to say, like, glory to God in this moment, because there were so many times, like if you Google me right now, like you're not gonna see this rap sheet of arrests. And I'm just grateful that he saved me from that, because it totally could have been me. I went through First Step Home, and I'm really grateful to First Step Home because they helped me battle the addiction of drugs. But then there's this whole other part of the story where I was clean and sober, but I wasn't redeemed. And that's when I found Block in terms of Redeemed Home. I didn't know that Redeemed Home equaled Block Ministries and all of these people that supported and loved me through my childhood. I had no idea. So I think when I talked to, it must have been Stephanie's phone number, because I called and she's like, and what's your name? And I said, Olivia Palmore. I said, but my maiden name is Deppenbrock. And then she was like, oh my gosh, like, yikes. I can just hear her saying it now, like, yikes, like, what? We know you, like, you're little Olivia. And I'm like, well, I'm not little. Like, I'm not the person that you remember. I'm not sweet little Olivia I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess, and I need help. Like, and this is hard for me to come back. We set up the interview process to see if I was a good fit for the Redeemed Home. And she asked me what my hobbies were. And that was a weird question, because I didn't really love myself at that point. But I talked about my art and that I love to make cards. And there's this spark in her eyes. Come to find out, the spark in her eyes was this prayer that she had been praying for a long time, that God would bring someone to this space that we're in now, the Cincinnati Type and Print Museum, and that this space could be used for the Redeemed Home.
I love to see people blessed by what she's doing. And I know that's where her blessings come from, is from giving. And this is one of the things, I hope she's writing this down, is how did you get hooked up with Block again? How did that happen? That was a God thing.
We're all broken. And you just find that if you can stay with that group of support, that even when you fall into a place where you don't want to be, you can always lean back into that. So that tells the story of why that longevity brings blessing and why we believe in that.
I'm just so grateful that Block and my family was always here with open arms for me whenever I was ready.